Hello, everyone. Welcome into our living rooms and offices at home. Since we have all the snow, that's where everybody's coming from. So today, though, we still are working it on our YBMcast. Today, we are talking about Francis Howell High School, giving a good GAC preview here, and we have YBMcast with Matt over there. Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Very well, very well. Down in the other corner, Kevin Moulder. Kevin, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Fortunate to be talking baseball on a day like today, so this is phenomenal.
And we have our resident coach comes in, talks with us, but we're previewing his team today. Coach Tony Perkins from Francis Howell. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Always, always. All right, guys, we're going to start with Coach here. We're going to get his thoughts on the upcoming season, coming off that last season here. What you're looking at, what you're looking for, where do you think your team's going to go?
My hope we go a long ways, but it's a lot of work ahead and a lot of pieces of the puzzle put together. The conference is going to be loaded. I mean, there's so many good arms. Just, even from South Central with, Scotty Harris's kid, Lane, if he's ready to go, they got two lefties over there that can go. Hatchman is a guy that's committed to Arkansas. He's 95, 97. I mean, if he can throw strikes, he's going to win most time he's out there. So there's a lot of really good. And Zuma West has got Whistler's going to Mizzou and Deverman, who's a junior, two lefties, and those two guys will keep in games whenever they're playing and whenever they're throwing, which will be Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But, we're going to be okay. We're all right. We're going to be young, but that doesn't really bother me too much because I got some good players there.
I love that. We asked him about his team, where he thinks it's going, and he talks about everybody else. I love that, Coach. Well, you definitely have
to be concerned about.
It's true. I don't disagree. But Kevin, Coach has some quite a few players to watch here coming up this season. So let's talk a little bit about some of those kids and on your radar there, bud.
Well, yeah, he certainly is blessed with a talented roster, and if outside of pitching, the one position you'd love to have secured up is shortstop, and he's got one of the best in the state, I feel like, and Jake McCutcheon, and he has some depth there too because he's got a couple of young guys that are really good that he's fortunate enough to be able to play at other positions. Titus Sissel is a guy that I'm super high on, and I believe Coach really likes as well. Just committed to Mizzou, and he has got a number of others. He's got some freshmen that I'm excited to see what he's going to do with if they're going to be able to be contributors on his team as a freshman, or if they're going to be coming down the line. But he has a couple guys, Leo Humbert, Bryce Daniels, that I like a lot that are just getting into the program for him. Not trying to leave anyone out too. Like there's Ty Rousers committed to Truman State as senior arm, and there's quite a bit of talent there, isn't there, Coach?
Well, I mean, we do have a lot of talent at a younger level. The thing that people will miss, we lost a bunch, and that's okay. But there was a lot of those young ones that got, their feet wet. There were some guys out there. Sissel started off with early. We thought we'd shoot him back down after the tournament scene, but he kept getting on base and he kept working hard, and so he played the whole season with us. And then there's another freshman, Grayson Puckett, who can just absolutely fly. These are the prospects. Football player too. He was really fast. He got a couple games in the outfield, and he's going to be competing for time. Question mark basically right now is if Bryson Laputi is eligible, because he transferred in from CBC. He started center field for CBC last year, left-handed arm. If we got him, that would be something else. But we'll just have to wait and see if he gets eligible. I don't know what's going on with that. I know he's inside the doors.
Can I say that the rich just keep getting richer?
Yeah, certainly. Well, at least
ahead,
he stole
Kevin,
from
sorry.
the rich.
He's a good
I'll give
player.
him that.
Yes, he is. Bryson's very good.
And he'd be able to help you, obviously, on both sides of things, on the mound and in the field. Coach, one question I have for you, obviously it's no secret, and I'm sure this is something you've thought a lot about. You lost some really, high school, college, whatever. It's part of the process. You're always going to lose players, and new guys are going to come in, and that's exciting. But you in particular lost quite a bit. You lost on the mound specifically. Carson Supert was kind of your bell cow, and then you had Matthew James, Shane Kirby, and then in maybe the most electric arm on your staff, not necessarily the best, but one of the most electrics, in Alex Pipes. That's 4 impact arms for you that really carried the load, and you got a lot of innings to replace on the mound, don't you?
Yeah, no doubt. Especially with our schedule, when we're playing 5-6 games, that's where I get a little bit ahead of the game, because some of these guys that are coming back now had to pitch on Fridays and had to pitch on Saturdays and got some innings in. I'll end up using, 12 arms probably, throughout the season. I mean, I was going through this the other day. I mean, I think I got 15 guys that are trying out as pitchers, and I got, a couple, 3 lefties in there. Like Leo Humbert, the freshman, he's a left-hand. Him and Naputi are both bat right and throw left, and I've been seeing Leo a little bit in the open facilities that we're allowed to do, and he's way ahead of his age level, that's for sure. I mean, he's a good-looking kid, and he swings it really well, and and his arm is his left arm as well. He's going to be mid-80s. That's exciting. And we got another lefty named Graves that came through. I told him he had a good name for a Howell name, but he's a lefty that throws strikes, and he can get it done. But Brackensick, who else? Rouser. Oh, Miller. People want to talk about Miller. He's going to be a two-way guy for me, but he's a scrappy dude. He can catch. He can play infield. He can pitch. That guy, he competes. So we got other guys. Brady Wilson's really come a long way. Big arm, about 6'3" or so. Just got back from Arizona with the Tigers group, the national team they had. He's been really hitting really well, and he's loose as could be. So I think he's got a real good future for him. Pivowarski, Holtman, those are right-handed arms. They're juniors that can, throw strikes and help us out a lot. I mean, Jack Bryan, Blake Walter, there's, a bunch of dudes in there that I can go to. That's what it's going to be. I mean, if a guy does not get it done, it's next. I mean, I'll have guys up and ready to go. And when my new hire with Aaron Shaffer, I feel really good about our pitching situation and letting him take over that.
Does he have a year of eligibility left, Coach?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I was going to say one name we haven't touched on, who is one of the bigger names in St. Louis for multiple reasons. One, physically, he is, and two, he's a legitimate two-way talent. He's Brett Norfleet, committed to Mizzou, obviously to play tight end and also baseball. What type of impact are you hoping that he provides for you? I know he's coming off a shoulder injury, and so you got to be careful as a coach, obviously, with that type of talent and, the injury. Or you have high hopes for him this spring, or kind of waiting to see?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we could have had that dude for 4 years. He would have definitely been up with me as a freshman, but then we had the COVID year. And then last year he was hurt, so I didn't have him. He swung a little bit for us, but arm-wise on the mound, I mean, he's going to Mizzou and had offers from, throughout the whole Midwest, or not even South, but he if he's right, he'll be one of the better ones around. You put him in there with Hatchman.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
we'll
Coach. We when we talk about high school baseball, especially when we get into the playoffs, pitching always seems to be the hot topic. And you've got a lot of arms that you've got to figure out what to do with. I guess my question is, early in the season, you get tournament play, you're trying to, get a feel for a lot of the guys. Is it a possibility that maybe some of the younger ones, and I'm talking about not juniors, but more of sophomores and freshmen, you maybe pull up to really see what they can do in a tournament where it's not a conference game, to see where they're at maybe long-term for you as a program?
No doubt. No doubt. And the way our schedule's geared, and we play in the Troy tournament, that's our first tournament. You get 5 games in there, in 5 days, 6 days, whatever it is, So you're forced to use those guys, which is great, and then the next week you roll right into the Midwest Classic. So you got 2 tournaments back to back. So I got 10 games before we get into the conference schedule and your regular schedule. And it forces you to use these guys and see what they got. And if they can compete, if they go out there and throw strikes, they're on my radar, let's go. And I got to figure out who my Tuesday, Wednesday guy is going to be. If Norflate's right, he's good. If Pootie's eligible, he's good. I got Brackensick, I got Rouser. I got guys, that could fulfill those roles, and then maybe I got to figure out a closer, it could be Pivorowski, there's questions to be answered. And as you're saying, early in the season, that's the time to experiment and figure it out.
Which goes back to what we always talk about. You can have a Francis Howell team that's 500 going to the tournament just because of their schedule and what happens early on, and they could win state, which is topics we've had in the past. You just hope you don't run into Hackman.
That dude's pretty special.
Kevin's over there great and big.
I'm going to jump out here with a line on that, though. I love to give some of these young, talented pitchers. Coach alluded to Lane Harris and Hatchman, and just in general guys that I come across. And so, yeah, you're pretty good, but you'll have my attention once you beat Coach Perkins. Because you got to do more than just throw hard. He's going to make you control the running game, field your position, throw strikes, and you're going to have to battle your butt off for 7 innings, not just throw a quality bullpen.
Yeah, I'm going to have to crank up the pitching team before we see those guys, that's for sure. But, you got to put the ball in play, and we know how to put the ball in play most time. And then go from there.
Absolutely.
Coach, how's the catching position looking? We're talking about some pitching, but how's it looking behind the plate for you?
That's a big question, a good question. I was so spoiled with catching. We've been struggling the last couple of years, with COVID stuff going on. One of our catchers went down twice last year, Aiden Rogers. I got 4 catchers that are juniors, and I can only use one, so I'm going to have to figure that out. But Aiden Rogers, I said Caleb Miller, I mentioned earlier, and Carter Allen is another prospect guy that catches. And Tommy Kramer is also a guy, as he dropped 30 pounds from the sophomore year. He's a junior now, and he's dropped 30 pounds. I was like, wow, you've been doing some work. He goes, yeah, he looks pretty good. So, there's 4 guys there. Usually you got one that's a bullpen catcher. I feel confident that, whoever's back there is going to be good. But the thing with Caleb is he pitches as well, so that's a bad combination. If he pitches, he's going to he can't catch the next game or the second game of a doubleheader. There's no way that's going to happen, So Rogers, is going to be in there. And ultimately it comes down who's going to hit. They better be able to receive and help our dudes out. That's part of my job. I do the catchers, so I'll do the best that I can. But it's a big competition back there, but it's good competition, and it should make them all better. And then, I got them for 2 years, so that'd be a good thing too. Well, 3, I had Rogers and Miller both last year, so they're getting better, and they do a lot of catching in the summertime. So they Norfleet throws to those guys all summer. So they know those guys and they can handle them. It's a good question.
I think it's interesting as you bring that up, because we always talk about, center, catcher, middle infield, center field. If you've got Naputi sitting in center field for you there, Coach, you got Jake McCutcheon, and your catcher position comes along like that, you're just looking at second base. And how is that rolling out for you there with that strength up the middle?
Yeah, I could put Miller there, and I could put Wilson. Might be playing some first base. Miller could go to third base. I got two really good glove men that are juniors, Aiden Johnson and Aiden Montgomery. Both those two guys are really good glove men up the middle. I don't know how much they're going to hit. I mean, that's up to them to see what happens. But, I don't know for sure. I really don't. It's going to come down to, preseason and those first two tournaments and who's going to end up earning those jobs. And there'll be some moving around because Wilson's going to throw, and Miller's going to throw, and Naputi will throw if he's eligible. And, so then makes you move them around and give other guys opportunities. And if they can come through and do the job, they'll earn it and get that job. I'm going to say if Norfleet's good, that'll be really good for us. And, and I think banging around a little bit, I'm going to be working the PBR event with Kevin this Saturday. I'm excited about that. There's probably at least 7 of our guys that are involved in that. So that'll be fun. I just like seeing them, and I went up to the prospects facility last week and watched Norfleet and Miller throw. I just sat there and watched them. I can't do anything else, so I just did that. I know they're working, and in the old facilities, I'm not getting my best guys. I mean, what's happening is, they're all going to the club stuff, and I always say, go ahead and do that, and that's fine. They get their training in. I know they're working. I know they're lifting, especially the prospect guys, because one of my sons, Ryan, is doing the strength conditioning, so I get updates on those guys. But I know what's going on with the Tigers and Premier and whoever else they're playing with. I know it's happening. So it'll be exciting when I get them all in first day and say, okay, now we're all together, and now we start competing for just even making a team.
Right. With the season just around the corner, you got tryouts and whatnot coming up this way. You're talking about you're going and looking at pitchers and whatnot. How are you keeping in touch with some of these other kids, their work getting in? You guys when do you start? You've started your gym workouts and the winter workouts already at the school, correct?
Yeah, we got to shut that down next week, though, because then you have everybody has a dead week the week before your season starts, and we can't do nothing there. To answer your question about how do I know, I'll text them, and I'll ask them, where are you at? What days are you throwing? What's your pitch count? What's your velo? When are you lifting? Are you doing your cardiovascular work? I will ask them that. I have their numbers, and they usually get back to me. So that's how I kind of keep up with them. And especially, I talk to Coach Moulder, I talk to Adam Jansen, I'll call him and say, give me a rundown on how guys, because there's a bunch of guys over there with Adam's group, and I know, Kevin, you're helping Adam, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yep. So you see how guys too. So I'll call them up and ask them. I'm comfortable in asking those guys, how are my guys doing? I'll talk to Todd Whaley at Prospect, I'll call Jaworski at the Tigers, and I'll say, hey, where are we at? Where are my guys at? Because I need to know comfortably first week of the season what their bullpens are going to consist of, where they're going to be at. Are they going to be 50 pitches? Are they going to be 70 pitches? Are they going to be 15 pitches? And it could range from the lowest amount to the highest amount too. Just I got to get it figured out. So that's what I've been doing here lately.
The schedule's out. We're looking forward to some of this stuff. Guys, any last questions for Coach here?
I don't have any questions. I think the big thing that we take from this is it's going to be a full team effort for you guys, which I don't think that's really a bad thing. So
no,
I'm pretty sure you'll be just fine. As always.
Yeah, we'll compete. We'll compete. That's my job. We'll compete. I'm just excited about not only this year, but our future, because our future is really bright too.
I got one last thing. We kind of talked a little bit before we started, Coach, is, your focus on leadership and how you let that evolve. We talked a little bit about, you've got such a young team, how are you looking for that situation with leadership being so young to evolve and come through that way?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You know, we were talking years ago. I used to do, choose captains, and then I didn't have a good feel where that was going, so I just stopped doing it. And my good teams, the leaders just come to the forefront. You know, Brett Graves was a leader in 2011. You knew that it was his team. You know, and there's always Calvin Munson, people like that. You know, they're leaders. You know, my son Nick was leader on those teams. You know, I mean, there's guys that come up front, or grasp it and just take the bull by the horns and says, hey, this is what we got to do, man. Sometimes the kids just got to police themselves, and usually that comes from senior leadership, and like I was saying, Jake McCutcheon might be the only senior in the defense, but it should be his team. He's going to Missouri State, and left-handed hitter can really hit. It should be his team. So I don't know. We'll see. It's hard to ask juniors and sophomores to jump up and be the leader. I mean, if you get a group of kids, and Coach Sissel has told me this quite a bit, that the work ethic in the younger group is better than we've had in a long, long time. So if they're all working and pushing each other, you got a chance then if that happens. So hopefully that'll happen. I do want to, get my coaches out there, names out there, because you can't do it by yourself. You got to have people helping you, and you got to have people you rely on. I'm real excited about Aaron Shaffer. But I've had Darren Sissel for 20 years, and his kid's one of the better players. I got Anthony Herron, who was, a draft and pitched for the White Sox. Those are my 4 varsity guys, And then I've got Clark Cranston, who's been with me for a few years, and Rich Barnes at the sophomore level, and they do a great job. Kids always come back and want to talk to those guys. And then Justin Schmidt's been with me forever. He Howell grad, and Ross Cook helps on freshman level. So, there's 8 of us all together. So that really helps to get the bases covered and keep the kids on task and keep them, on the straight and narrow and figuring out what they need to do. I wanted to thank those guys, though, because it's a big deal. They don't get paid a whole bunch. We all don't get paid a whole bunch, but, we do it because we love the game.
Love the game, baby. Love that, guys. Anything else let's Coach, we're gonna do this because I'm gonna say this first, and I want your thoughts. I believe with the talent you have, even though it's younger, it just depends. And we talked about this with CBC last year. I do think you have as good a shot to end up in that championship game. There's a lot of factors, as we roll, but I think you have the talent to do that. What do you guys think?
I would personally agree. What's interesting, one thing about Francis Howell, you see good teams, and I wouldn't necessarily put them in that category. I'd call them a great program because it's not a year-by-year thing. It's you can pretty much count on Francis Howell being in the mix. Some years they're stronger, other years they're not. And, a down year for Francis Howell seems to be, just falling short a game or two of the state championship. So and then when they have a great year or a good year, they win the state. So that's kind of what he's built. And you heard Coach talk about his assistant coaches and the continuity there, and that kind of explains a lot of it. That's kind of a look into how he's created a culture and a program, and not just have a good team when he has a good group of seniors. So that gives him a chance to win with a talented group of young guys, because he has, sounds like he's built a great foundation there. So when he gets a sophomore and he's up on the varsity, he's able to contribute right away. So that's really impressive. And spoiler alert, Francis Howell will certainly be in the top 10 preseason ranking when I come out with the large school ranking. So, yeah, you can bet. You can bet they'll be right up the middle. That's all been done.
There's a lot of other teams to be
Coach is so mad at you right now. How dare you, Kevin?
No,
I think Kevin's dead on. I think Kevin is dead on. It's kind of the mindset of, we'll take like recent news. You talk about the Tom Brady retiring, and the greatest team he ever played on probably didn't win the Super Bowl. Some of the state titles that Coach had, he probably looks at and says that maybe necessarily one of the most talented team I've ever coached. So, for example, if they win state this year, you can say, okay, well, is this team better than the teams that he's had in the past? Maybe, maybe not. But it's a program, and it's a group of kids that are buying into what he's selling and what he's preaching, and it's worked for a very long time. And nobody's going to count him out, and everybody's going to go after him, and that's basically what he expects every year, and that's probably where he's at. So, why he's where he is. So, kudos to you, and good luck to you.
Well, I'm
sure I'll talk to you before you play a game, but
I appreciate all the compliments. That's for sure. I really sure appreciate that. It was kind of weird, funny story. A couple of years ago, I had Coach Ratterman, who's now the head coach at Wright City, and some kids stopped by just to say hi, and he said something about the culture and a program. And I really hadn't thought about that too much, but it has become that. And that is the ultimate compliment to me that, I've been doing it for a long time, and every year, I mean, everybody loses guys. You just got to try to keep up with consistency, and it all stems from my camps and my coaches that I have around all the time. But, being called a good program really humbles me. So that's thank you so much for that.
It's good stuff. Gentlemen, thanks. And shameless plug here, we did get an opportunity with Coach Perkins. If you want to get some insight into what he does with his program, we have that up on our channel, How to Build a Successful Program with Coach Perkins. Get some insight, get some information, help yourself out. There's no reason. And I think that's one of the best things about it. He's willing to share this information and very open and honest about what he does. So I think that's awesome.
Always trying to help somebody.
Coach Perkins, thanks for the time. Guys, Matt, Kevin, always. That's great. Appreciate it. Good luck to you as well, Coach. I'm sure we'll see you. We're going to look for him on our GAC Game of the Week. Got some good stuff coming up that way. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Always remember to have a great day in the Lord. You pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
hit them where they ain't.
There you go. That's good advice. We'll see y'all next time.